We gon' run it, hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock them out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North talk.
Welcome to another edition of AFC North Talk. Here we are. Season's over. We are the Gauntlet, guys. The AFC North Talk came in hard. 3 teams made it. The Bengals didn't make it.
Wait. So we're all celebrating here? All 3 of us?
I don't know. I'm not sure if Ace is celebrating, but
we're over 500, right?
Yeah. Everybody's 500.
We're
Everybody's
all
500.
Playoffs, right?
That's the problem.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a miss there.
It's okay. It's okay. This is the 3rd time. Well, this is funny because the last time we sent 3 teams, the Bengals were the team that were left out because of a Joe Burrow injury, largely too. It was the year where everybody played the AFC South. Yeah.
Interesting.
Food for thought. Right?
Interesting. There you go, a cute little nugget of knowledge here. I didn't realize that. I remember.
Yeah, Pittsburgh
here. But now the question is: the Steelers are still the longest drought on the playoff win, right?
Wait, did all the same teams make it except for Houston?
I don't know. That's 2020.
2020. Right? It was Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, Buffalo, Kansas City. Who are the other 2 teams? Tennessee.
Yeah. So
when was Pittsburgh's last playoff win again?
It was a while ago.
2017.
Like the iPhone 13 out.
Not even the iPhone 13. I think maybe the iPhone X just came out. Like people were still transitioning from buttons.
The Patriots. The Patriots was the other one.
The Patriots. Wow. Hey man, time moves fast as hell. The Patriots made the playoffs in 2020.
That's 2019, 2021. Sorry.
I'm about to say, I believe.
So Tennessee, Ravens, Browns, Steelers, Colts.
Yes. I remember I wanted the Colts in that first round.
Yes. By the way, before we get started with both of our games, I was watching this Jaguars. I sent you guys the stats because I have never been the biggest Lawrence fan, and people had criticized me because when he came as a rookie, I was like, I don't know if this guy. I think he's gonna be good, but I don't think he's gonna be like that good, right? And I'm watching this game. My wife was watching it with me, and he was like, "What? Where is he throwing this ball at?" I'm like, "He's getting pressure, and he doesn't like the pressure, and he's pretty like he has decent mobility in the pocket, but his capability is not a thing. At least he doesn't use it as much. He was throwing to nobody. Like I'm watching it, like what is he doing, right?" So that was a game. Like obviously, I'm trying to root for them because I want.
You thought that the Jacksonville Jaguars were gonna win that game?
No. Before the game started against the Titans,
did they lose like 5 games in a row?
Yeah, but against the Titans.
Who started that? Who started that loss streak that they had? I wonder who.
You know what's crazy? Trevor Lawrence lost every game he played in. In that fight.
I did see their tweet.
Every game. They won 1 game when Trevor Lawrence didn't play against the Panthers, which I assume Trevor would have won. But I don't know. Like sometimes Trevor don't be outweighing the good and the bad, man. Like sometimes it just be like, hey, dog. Like I don't know how to justify this anymore, right? And that's the thing with Trevor Lawrence is that it's so up and down with him, and it's been 3 years. And I'm sorry. It's been 3 years with Joe Burrow. We kind of know who Joe Burrow is, right? Mm-hmm. Year 3 of Lamar. Kind of knew who Lamar was. Mm-hmm. Hell, Josh Allen, the guy that everybody likes to use is it could be Josh Allen, right? Like everybody loves to use that. The late bloomer, the new Peyton Manning. by year 3, kind of knew who Josh Allen was, right? Like we were already into the MVP hype Josh Allen era. Year 3, also when we found out about like Baker Mayfield, right? Like, oh, okay, this is just kind of what it's gonna be. It's kind of what it's going to be with Trevor, man. Like, I think people keep holding off and thinking, oh, well, this thing's going to change and that thing's going to change and this is going to change. And I'm telling you right now, that much has to change in order for your quarterback to be good. He ain't the guy. Well, he might not be terrible, but he ain't that guy, right? He's not Joe Burrow. He's not Lamar Jackson, because Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson didn't need the Ravens to be perfect or the Bengals to be perfect in order to get to where they got to. They just needed to be healthy and out there. And that's where I'm like, people are already kind of running this cover for Trevor Lawrence. It's like, well, his wide receivers aren't that good, Quincy, and they're just dropping the ball and all this shit. I'm like, yeah, that shit happened to Lamar too, but it didn't define Lamar's seasons because Lamar was ultimately better than that, right? Remember when Lamar had them drop wide receiver drops like crazy? All that stuff. And he was dealing with Greg Roman in the past game. Like, still figured a way to be great, to be Lamar Jackson. So for everybody who wants to make excuses for Trevor Lawrence because they want to believe in some dream that he's going to be what they thought he was going to be coming out of college, it just ain't that. It just ain't that. He has not remotely lived up to that hype. Like, I honestly look at CJ Stroud and go, oh, okay, that's closer to what they wanted Trevor Lawrence to be than Trevor Lawrence has been.
Yes. If you think about how Trevor Lawrence back then was talked like Caleb Williams, right? Caleb Williams, not this year, but last year we were hearing Caleb Williams was the best quarterback last year. Like, if Caleb Williams would have come out of the draft the year before, last year's draft, he would have been the number 1 overall. And then this year, number 1 overall. The same conversation I remember with Trevor Lawrence coming out of the Clemson, right? The year before, like, this kid would have been the first-round pick if he would have come this year.
They were saying that when we picked Burrow. They were saying that in the 2020 draft.
Exactly.
They were talking about Trevor Lawrence.
Exactly, right? And he has nowhere near the hype. And I don't know, right? Like, Jackson, it's not because Jacksonville hasn't tried. They paid Kirk a bunch of money. Calvin Ridley's there. He's a nice receiver.
Evan Ingram,
right?
He lived up to the hype. I mean, he's a good quarterback situation. I don't think he's lived up to the hype, but I think that game this past Sunday, I think he was just playing hurt because I mean he had the shoulder injury. People didn't know if he was going to play, and I mean if you're going to play with a hurt shoulder, I mean it is what it is.
Look,
don't this all remind you of conversations we had a couple years ago about Baker Mayfield? Like,
I mean,
oh man, he's got Odell Beckham in this offensive line.
When you see stuff that doesn't make sense, like the throws that Sonny is talking about, it's like, okay, that's got to be the shoulder. Like, I'm not saying that he's lived up to the hype or anything. I just think that the dude tried to go out there and play. And I just think Jacksonville, like, as soon as they lost to us, they just kept losing games. They kind of did the reverse of what they did the year before, right? Like the year before, they started out losing games, and then they went on the streak of winning games. This year, they started out winning games, and then they go on a streak where they just lost a bunch of games. I just think the Jacksonville Jaguars
am always super wary of writing off a quarterback's flaws as, oh, it's this coach. Oh, it's this coordinator. Oh, it's this injury. When we've seen these flaws day in and day out. I've seen him throw the football like that last year. We saw him the Chargers game, the first half of that Chargers game. He wasn't injured. He just was doing that shit. Like,
yeah, he was just throwing turnovers.
Yeah, he just does that. Like, he just does that. We could blame it on the shoulder. We could blame it on the coaches. We could blame it on the wide receivers. At the end of the day, we don't talk about this. Like, Joe Burrow, he'll have a bad game or two because of some injury. And it's obvious what the injury is, right? You don't ever leave the game guessing like, oh man, maybe it was the shoulder with Joe Burrow and why. Like, no, if it's something wrong with Joe Burrow and it's affecting him, it's obvious what is wrong with him. Same thing with Lamar, right? When Lamar had them bad games and he was out there, we're like, he's literally limping. Like, we can see what the problem is. It's a obvious issue. But with Trevor, it's like, it feels more like an excuse to me. And maybe I got Baker Mayfield PTSD. So I just see Baker in a lot of different quarterbacks. But I think our
I agree. I think he hasn't lived up to the hype at all. Like, but I just like people actually thought the Jags were gonna win that game. I don't see how, just because they did not look like a team. Like, ever since they lost to the Bengals, and then they kept losing all of these other games. And I don't know, like, where Doug Peterson falls into that as well, because it's like, how do you not get your team ready to at least win one game? That's all he really basically had to do, was win one game out of these stretches that they were, 8-3? It seems like so long ago that they were like 8-3. But yeah, I mean, the Jags are cooked, man. I don't know what they need to do. Trevor Lawrence is not living up to what he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be like the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. He's not delivered that at all whatsoever. But we'll say this, though. He still has at least done more than Justin Herbert in terms of playoffs.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
When they be talking about Herbo, like Herbo is.
I'll go get a win. Okay. He said, I don't care if we make it or not. I'll get this win. Because you know what? Ain't like Justin Herbert doing shit either.
Yeah. Man. Look, the Florida teams, we'll see now, right? There's 2 left. Miami, that was the other important game for the Steelers.
Tua finally made the playoff. Now we're gonna see.
Well, he made it last year. Remember, he was there.
No, that was Skylar Moore.
He didn't make it last year. He got hurt. Yeah,
Skylar Thompson or whoever it was.
Yeah, and they almost beat the Bills.
But we'll see him now against Quincy's boy Pat Mahomes. But the Bills, look. So what I was gonna say is, I think T-Law's comp of Josh Allen holds to a certain point. He has all the bad traits that Josh Allen has, with none of the upside. Like Josh Allen, like if you
have some of the upside,
but yeah,
it's like.
But think about Josh Allen's bad throws in that game, right? There was one interception in that game.
Potato with the interceptions.
So Josh Allen threw, I think it was 2 picks.
See, the thing is, like, Josh Allen's bad throws feel intentional. Like,
there was one intentional. The one in the he basically threw a heater to the end zone.
Oh yeah, that was he meant to do that. Yes. Yeah. No. I'm not saying like it's intentional, like he meant to do it to cause an arm punt. I'm saying when Josh Allen does some shit that makes you scratch your head, it's because Josh Allen thought that shit was a good idea.
Oh, I see.
Trevor Lawrence like makes decisions that I'm pretty sure Trevor didn't even want to make. The ball just went there, right? Like he doesn't have the same control over it. And that's why I think it's the ultimate difference between Josh Allen. It's like, yeah, Josh Allen will throw a stupid interception, but like he has command of that football. And he threw that stupid interception because he thought he could make a stupid play. And he probably will make a stupid play if you give him enough time. Trevor Lawrence makes those same bad decisions without the same command of the football. And that's why there's one Josh Allen and a bunch of Baker Mayfields and other guys like that, right? Like that's why if you don't got that command on the football, you can't live your life like that. Yeah. Same with Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes who can live that life, and everybody else is everybody else.
The last thing I would say with this the Florida teams is I heard that the Bucks are probably paying Baker upwards of 30 to 33 mil, similar to Daniel Jones' contract. I was like, really? For 1 year?
How many years? How many years do you think he gets? I think 3 makes sense.
Yeah. They were saying 3, but I'm like, franchise him 1 year and see if he can do it.
Nah, man. Miami. Come on, man. So don't stand in the way of Baker's bag. He's been through enough, Sonny.
Like his season wasn't that great.
Was that interception that Allen threw? Wasn't one of them in the red zone?
Oh, both of them.
Yeah. Well,
that's that patented Josh Allen red zone interception. He always good for one of those.
No, he threw this interception in the red zone from legitimately 60 yards out.
Even he gave Eli Apple some love. That's how nasty.
The one to Eli Apple was in the red zone. Was 3rd and goal, and I don't know what he was throwing because it was just straight to Eli Apple.
By the way, shout out to Eli Apple. He's the only guy I know that can get a great interception and make us question what the was he doing? Because one, why was Eli Apple there? Like there was nobody there. I'm like, so what were you doing there in the first place? And two, why did you run out the back of the end zone? Like, well, come on, Eli. Like, only person that can get an interception. I'm like, well, what the was he thinking?
Yeah.
Like all of this.
I told my wife like he needed to stay in this, and she's like, "Why?" So like, do you see he ran like to the 5 or 6? I can't remember.
He almost fumbled.
Yeah. Like, oh my god. Anyway, those are the two other games.
Hey, man,
that were like,
I love players like Eli Apple. They keep the league interesting. You know, we can't have everybody be perfect. Like Eli Apple's out there, like, nah, dog, I'm here for these mistakes. Like,
to be fair, think about Eli Apple when he was drafted in New York, right? He was very high. Apple, Big Apple, blah blah blah, and then he was cooked. Right, similar to Artie Burns in Pittsburgh. But Artie Burns hasn't really done anything. I don't even know if he's in the league or not. But Eli Apple has still, hitting that check. He's still playing.
Hey, shout out to Eli, man. He done made his money in the NFL, got his contract, made his memes, made money off the memes, and will continue to be like what? He's been in the league a long time now for a dude who has panned out as a first round pick.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we have a couple super chats here. Says Rex Fortune said, Q, how is Jameis and company supposed to respect DA?
Dennis Allen.
Yeah, he willing hire Joe Woods. Willingly.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think Jameis would have done that if Bill Belichick were his head coach. Like, at some point, we got to stop being mad at for Jameis for doing exactly the things that make us love Jameis Winston, which is him just making an executive decision like, nah, we gonna punch this in. My homeboys want to score on the line versus the Falcons. Like, hey, Jameis Winston is the ultimate. Look, if you have a party and that party's going, Jameis Winston not gonna be the one to tell you to turn the volume down, right? Jameis Winston in no stretch of his life has ever wanted to be a vibe killer. Look at the incidents, the non-serious incidents that Jameis Winston has had in his life. And those are incidents of a man who has not tried to kill a vibe. Yeah, I'll take these crabs from you. Yeah, I'll go yell this in the dormitory hallway because he has never tried to kill the vibe. And the vibe in that huddle was, man, we should score this shit. And Jameis was like, y'all think we should score this? Well, then we about to go score. Like
he's in the Homeboy Hall of Fame, right?
The craziest part is these two teams each other. Yeah. This is not some kind of situation where we like dog. When the Saints, and I know Q knows this because I remember seeing the viral video on Twitter when the Saints won in Atlanta. Not only did they celebrate, they took a band through Walmart in Atlanta parading that they won. Like, what are we talking about? Like, if any of us and our hated rivals played each other in that same situation, we're doing that. Like, nobody's gonna be like, yeah, let me give a mercy rule to my hated arch nemesis in the division. Nobody's doing that. That was the craziest part to me. It's like, okay, yeah, these teams don't like each other, so why would they do that? Like,
the funniest thing was hearing that reporter be like, well, Jameis, don't you regret that because they have to play these guys?
That was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no, I don't agree.
Is there anything that can happen between the Browns, Ravens, and Bengals in a football game that's going to make them less or more motivated to play? I promise you. Dog, that's the right.
We threw trash on Ben Roethlisberger, dog. There are no lines that can be crossed.
We were beating the Jets by 30 points on Thursday Night Football, and the city of Cleveland started chanting Pittsburgh sucks in that game. I don't think there's anything you could do to put more gas on a rivalry like that. Like you're gonna have to play the Falcons next year. Okay, and then he said that like you caught the Falcons on a down year. Like
I have to play them again next season.
I'm like they're gonna roll out. Like, oh my God, Desmond Ridder next year. Angry Desmond Ridder. Oh my goodness, that's so scary. Like, come on, he said that shit like the Falcons were something to be afraid of. Like that was nothing to me. like I could understand if we did something disrespectful to Lamar Jackson after we beat him with one division game left. All right, yeah, probably don't want to piss off the 2-time MVP. Desmond Ridder? Yeah, you can piss him off, dog. Ain't nobody worried about that. Please, ain't nobody worried about Desmond Ridder's feelings. Arthur Blank ain't even worried about Desmond Ridder's feelings. He openly just called the man deficient. Okay.
By the way, and just not to keep pushing the other games, but
hey, we got spam in the chat, by the way.
We have. Oh, hold on. Where's the spam? Ace, can you take care of it?
Yeah, I got you.
You saw what the owner of the Falcons said, that he doesn't regret not going after Lamar.
I bet he doesn't. What's he gonna do? Admit he's wrong? When does an NFL owner ever do that?
Never. That's right. You're right. Okay, Jamar Sanders here says, wait, Joe Burrow has the most weapons ever. LOL.
But we always complain about how bad his offensive line is. Right, like, oh, Joe Burrow's struggleless when it's convenient, but then when you play Joe Burrow, you think, oh man, you could beat him because that offensive line's so weak. So really, like, what are we saying here?
People always be talking about the weapons, but they ignore the 70 sacks that season on the way to the Super. 70 sacks.
The fat people, man. I'm telling you, there's no more parent. I think Q, you tweeted about this too. I was watching the national game. And the difference between the trenches between Michigan and the Huskies in Washington was apparent. I'm telling you, you need to build that O-line.
Hey, man, we do all this talk about receivers and everything else. At the end of the day, who are your big MFers and your fat guys?
Yeah.
Because, look, you have a good group of fat guys and a good group of big dudes, go a long way. And look, Bengals lost some of their fat guys on defense. Ace, you miss them?
Mr. Reader.
Yeah.
DJ Reader. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, man, football is a physical sport. And in a physical sport, you probably want some big dudes and some fat guys. Some really good fat guys. Like
Jamari Sanders says T-Law 1-1 in the playoffs. Lamar in the 1 and 3. Yeah, I mean,
people still doing this.
Yeah, people. This is all I get. But you know what? Lamar has to, go there and perform in the playoffs. The team has to go out there and perform in the playoffs. And if he doesn't win the first game that he gets with whoever, then we'll be back to this narrative, right? Like he now has the opportunity.
Tearing down Lamar Jackson to try to pump up Trevor Lawrence at this moment in time is just an unhinged.
It's crazy.
Just like,
that part is crazy.
Like,
King here says people actually think Cleveland is a better team with Flacco than with Watson. Shake my head. Anyway, Ravens gonna smash next week.
I don't think people think that the Browns are a better team with Flacco than Watson, but I do think what most people are saying or projecting is that the Browns are a much funner team to root for with Flacco than Watson for pretty obvious reasons.
We'll talk about that.
This got nothing to do with the football field.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what's up. But let's talk about that game first. Cleveland and Cincinnati. I mean, I forgot the name of the quarterback already for Cleveland.
Oh, Jeff Dismal?
Yeah, that guy should be cut and never come again.
Dismal Driscoll. I remember watching him at Florida and be like, hey, that dude sucks.
Why?
And he's still in the league. Still in the league.
They question
a lot of y'all had wins against Jeff Driscoll. Now Q sees what we was dealing with.
I saw it in Florida because he played his freshman year in Florida. I remember he wore 6. And everybody was like, he's the next Tim Tebow. And I watched him. I was like, he's ass. And then he went to like somewhere else, like Louisiana Monroe. And I guess he played fine there, had a good Senior Bowl. And then he got drafted. And then he popped up with the Bengals one time. And then I was like, okay, I guess this is what Jeff Driscoll doing. And then he almost played for the Cardinals. And I was like, man, why they ain't put in Jeff Driscoll over Clayton Tune? Because there's no way Clayton Tune is not worse than Jeff Driscoll. Nah, Clayton Tune's better than Jeff Driscoll. Like, God, he sucks, man.
My thing is, why not PJ Walker? Why?
I guess they didn't want him to get hurt. I think they were legitimately hoping that Jeff Driscoll could be the backup. Like,
Really? Because DTR is ready to be the backup, right? Or
well,
not?
DTR is out for the year.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he
Didn't
got
they sign him and play him the same week?
yes. I think there was some hope
They
that
set
hey,
that man
maybe
up.
Jeff Driscoll could be a better backup to Joe Flacco than PJ Walker. And no, he's not. Okay. And PJ's a terrible backup to Joe Flacco at this point. Like PJ's an okay enough backup for Deshaun Watson, but for what they want to do with Joe Flacco, PJ's not it. He's super small. Like he's not doing any of the Joe Flacco stuff. But dog, it's better than Jeff Driscoll.
Believe it or not, though, PJ Walker played worse against Lou Anarumu's Bengals the year prior before he was on the Browns. It was worse.
Oh, against the Panthers.
Against us. That was the game Joe Mixon scored like 6 touchdowns. PJ Walker was horrible in that game.
Hey, Joe Mixon turned it on when he see a backup quarterback on the other side, don't he?
Hey, that bonus money was there. He had to get it.
You have to get it.
They kept talking about everybody's bonuses. I was like, why do we have incentive bonus coverage this season? It was like, oh yeah, Chris Jones gets a sack. It's $1 million. It's like, all right, I guess these week 18 matchups, you have nothing else to talk about except players' bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is a game that it was dominated by the Bengals. I don't know what to say, right? Because I just saw a bunch of backups.
Hey, look, the Browns only ran out of time, man. They had their hands full with David Bell out here. Like, if they would have found that connection earlier, Sonny, different story.
Different story.
Yeah.
When I saw, because I remember you said like, oh, Miles is gonna play. I saw Miles being out, and I'm like,
they played nobody.
Yeah.
Like I thought they were gonna play some start. The Browns played. Shelby Harris is a regular rotational player. They played him. Jordan Elliott is a regular rotational player. They played him purely because they had to. No Zadarius. No, they played less people in the preseason than they did this week. Like, I'm not even joking. They didn't even play Taki. They didn't play JOK. They played Tony Fields and Muhammad Diabite. They didn't play any of their corners, any of their safeties. I think they didn't even play D'Anthony Bell that much, who's a backup. Like, they played nobody on defense, which shocked me. And then offensively, they also played nobody, where it's like they benched all of the offensive line except for the 2 guys who are already bench players. And then it got so bad that they're like, all right, I guess we'll throw Jerome Ford out there. like
yeah, it wasn't pretty. I was watching. Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
It was okay. I clearly underestimated how much they were gonna just let this one fly going into it, because I thought they was gonna let Miles try to get like 2 sacks or something like that. Nah, dog, they weren't taking any chance. They had all these dudes dressed too, which was even weirder. So like Joe Flacco was dressed, never played.
You have to have them dress. You have to have them
because you can't just have everybody inactive.
Yeah,
but
you only can put 8 inactive, I think it is. So
they made sure to put Miles in there to protect his stats, which whoever did that made that decision. Homeboy, Hall of Fame. You might have saved him Defensive Player of the Year with that.
Ace, but let's go to the other side. Jake Browning obviously finished the season on a good note. He's coming back to the Bengals. He's exclusive restricted free agent. So next year, the Bengals only have to sign him for a league minimum, and he cannot refute it. He has to take it. So he will be back for the Bengals. So that's a nice story.
I think they're saying he's gonna get a decent pay
well,
rate.
It is a bit. It is a bump.
They can put like if I'm not mistaken, they can put like a draft pick attached to it. So if someone wants to,
what I was reading,
sign him,
so what I was reading, because he has less than 3 seasons of accumulation of playing time, he goes, instead of being a restricted free agent, which is the one that
he's exclusive rights. So they're gonna have that for a while because he's barely played. So what that means is they can put like a draft pick, they can tender a draft pick on him, and they can pay him. But if somebody wants to try to sign him, they'd have to give us that draft pick for him.
Okay, I thought that was the RFA, but okay, cool. Independently, he played. He played really well at the end of the season. He has moments, as a backup, you don't expect them to be perfect, but um, what do you thought about this game? Anything that you can gain out of this game moving towards the season?
I mean, I kind of expected this to happen. I mean, it's very kind of similar to the Bengals in 2021, week 18. You're not playing your starters in a game when you have a playoff game the next week. Like, you're going to sit everybody. You're going to try to get out of there with injuries, and that's what Cleveland did. And Cincinnati just took advantage of that. They're trying to end their season on a positive note. They finished 9-8 against the hardest schedule in the league this season. Without Joe Burrow, they were able to do some things with Jake Browning. It kind of sucks from a Tyler Boyd perspective because this is likely his last game. There's a lot of unknowns with DJ Reader. You don't know whether or not he's coming back based off of the quad injury. That is the second quad injury that he's had in the last couple of seasons. So that kind of leaves it up in the air. But it kind of was a fun game because it's really kind of seemed like a preseason game for the Bengals too. Like they didn't play like all of their starters, and they didn't really target all of their starters. So you got to see guys like Andre Yosivas catching 2 touchdowns. He's going to be something pivotal to the young receiver core next year. You got to see Charlie Jones, who a lot of people had high expectations for this year, but with him having injuries and kind of falling behind in that wide receiver room, you finally got to see Charlie Jones do some positive things. Chase Brown, after Joe Mixon was able to get his bonus and stuff out of the way, you were able to see a young player in Chase Brown that was able to do some things and look explosive. Really, this game was all about the 2023 Bengals draft class. Jordan Battle had an interception in this game. A lot of the guys from that draft class made a lot of plays, but this was just something where the Bengals wanted to end the season on a good note with the victory. Like, they knew that they weren't going to the playoffs, but they still didn't want to go out bad, losing to some backups or anything like that. So, that's what they did. They pretty much figured that the season was a wash after the game that eliminated them. They thought that they had a chance with Jake Browning. To me, I would probably say you getting swept by the Steelers kind of ended the season for them. Like that was that first game that they had against them. That's probably one that they wish that they could have back. But it is what it is. I mean, for them to, again, finish above 500 with the hardest schedule without Joe Burrow and with having Joe Burrow earlier in the season where he wasn't himself, I think they did pretty solid, but it's way below expectations because you were just in the AFC Championship the year prior. You were in the Super Bowl the year before that. So the goal now is to get Joe healthy, figure out what changes are going to happen on the coaching staff. I mean, there are interviews for Brian Callahan. I don't know why. I mean, it's kind of conflicting stuff coming out because if you look at the NFLPA, they think Callahan's a top 5 offensive coordinator. A lot of fans in Cincinnati would probably tell you differently. But, if he goes, I don't see why somebody would take him this year after the Bengals finished 9-8. But if he goes, they have something to look at possibly there. I would assume that they would just probably promote Brian Pitcher, or I think his name is Brian Pitcher, whatever his first name is. He's kind of the guy that they like to be kind of the replacement. He kind of works as the quarterback coach. They really like him. If they do move on from somebody, I think it's probably Frank Pollock. I doubt Luz is getting calls this year based off of how the defense performed. Defense took a step back. That was something after this game that really stood out as well, was a lot of the members in the secondary saying that they're going to meet in the offseason to try to figure this out because they just looked horrible this season in terms of the big plays and stuff like that. So I think you just saw a team that was kind of realizing that these guys may no longer be something going forward, especially with Tyler Boyd. Joe Burrow, however, they interviewed Joe Burrow, and he kind of repetitively said that he wanted T. Higgins to remain. So he was pretty adamant about that. With Tyler Boyd, he kind of left it kind of vague. He was like, hey, this is free agency. Things happen. I'd love to have him back, but free agency is crazy. With T. Higgins, he was more definitive of we need to have T. Higgins back. Everybody wants him back. He's put stuff in his contract to try to make sure that we keep a guy like T. Higgins. So that was interesting because I've heard some things about that, like, but that seemed like from what he was saying that he was adamant about trying to get them to keep T. Higgins. So we'll see what happens. But guys like Jonah Williams, you kind of get the sense he won't be back. You kind of get the sense Tyler Boyd won't be back. So where they go from here is you get 9 healthy and you come back and you battle it out again next season. So I think they gave the fans what they probably wanted, which was an end to the season with a win. And then you try to lick your wounds and come back next season.
By the way, I double check so your boy Jake Brownie is a ERFA, right? Exclusive rights free agent. When you're an exclusive right free agent, the team can just give you a minimal league salary, not a rookie, minimal league salary. So a better minimum.
Is that what you're doing now?
The what? About that. So he's making $750. So it is a raise. The following year, if that is his third accumulated season, then you have him with RFA, which is you can tender him. But this offseason,
so he can't be tendered then, is what you're saying.
Nah, this season, all you have to do, if you offer him a contract, he has to take it. There's no, I have to check with other teams. Next year, I think he could.
Okay.
Is he still on his rookie deal?
I doubt that they do this, but they could give him league minimum and try to trade him as well, right? For like
they
a draft
could,
pick.
they could do that. Yeah. That's they will control him. The other thing, something crazy. With Mr. Zach Taylor, he's been in Cincy for 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
He either finished 4th or 1st. That's all he does.
Oh, no. Talking about first.
Oh yeah, 2 last place finishes and then 2 first place finishes.
Well, this is his 5th year. 5th year, sorry.
Hey,
right?
Ricky Bobby. You ain't first, your last, man.
Yeah. There's no mid ground with Zach. Zach is either I'm going all in to first,
conference championship or nothing.
Oh, nothing.
He ain't trying to get eliminated the wild card round. Like it's like I kind of admire that willingness to just go all in from Zach. You know,
all in, baby, all in.
To be fair, this is his best non-playoff season, and it's only a 4th place finish because, good Lord, they could have won the NFC South.
Yeah. Yeah,
but now they in that L.
And then he had 2 seasons with Andy Dalton. Yeah, dog.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah,
just one.
Well, when Burrow got injured that 1 year, Andy Dalton.
Burrow got injured that year. He had Ryan Finley and Jeff Driscoll.
Hey, we're not about to disrespect White Vic on this time. Yeah, delivered us one of the best moments of the year that year.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Ray Rack here. Shout out to you, man. Thank you for the donation. Ace, I wonder if the Player Association pushed the incentives to the media. So if a player got froze out by a team, it will be noticeable. There are multiple stories of teams purposely stopping players from getting them before.
That is true. I can see that because that does happen. And that's kind of foul.
A lost thing in this Jameis story. They were trying to get somebody a contract incentive. Yeah. And by the way, I just want people to imagine this. Y'all know how Jamal Williams is. Y'all know how Jameis Winston is. They are 1 yard away from what an extra meal? Please, dog. There was nobody stopping that. Nothing they could do. And let me tell you, they was going to do it in the most guaranteed way to do it. Like I forgot that was Jamal Williams that he had in the ball too. That makes it even more hilarious. Like, yeah, I could not imagine 2 dudes you are not going to stop from doing something silly. Jamal Williams wore a Naruto headband on his NBC postgame thing and then stared at the camera like this. This is not. These are 2 very unserious individuals. You shouldn't have left them in the game at such a point if you cared about that.
I should have put Carr again.
Yeah.
Go.
It's like, why'd you hire them to babysit? Like,
Rerack also says, Ace, if the Bengals start slow once again next season, will Zach Taylor be on the hot seat?
Nah. I mean, Zach Taylor, he got them to a Super Bowl, man. I mean, Marvin Lewis didn't even get them a playoff win, and they hung on to him for a while. With Zach,
he's safe.
Yeah, Zach is safe. Frank Pollock isn't safe. So Frank Pollock probably isn't safe. It all has to be tied to Joe Burrow. Like Joe Burrow, the Bengals have always started slow, right? They started slow in 2021. They started slow in 2022, but they end up making these runs because of Joe Burrow. So, Zach Taylor can be there, but if as long as 9 is upright, Zach Taylor's deficiencies aren't really going to be on display. And you could say he kind of proved that even though he has deficiencies, he was able to win with Jake Browning. So I don't know if you could really get on Zach or try to get him out of town. Whereas in past years, whenever Joe Burrow went down, he wasn't winning any games. He won that one game with Ryan Finley, and that was it. Like all the other games, he just pretty much lost. So I don't think that there any that would be likely at all. Like unless they just have a disaster season, which I don't see. If Burrow is there, I don't see that being on the table.
Okay. With that being said, let's move forward to the other game. Steelers, Ravens. This is a game. Like you guys, we dress a lot. We actually there was actually some starters that play a couple series. Like Marcus Williams, which shocked me, was there for a couple series.
Pat Queen was out there.
Who? Pat Queen played a lot, actually. Pat Queen
was out there a lot.
Pat Queen played like a half. Yeah. I think the whole first half he was there. And it's funny because you know who balled out in this game for the Ravens? Trent Simpson. A guy that when we drafted him, I was like, this is Pat Queen's showing. Well, yeah, you know when you guys drafted, was it Dax Hill? The bait.
The heir apparent.
Yeah. So it was the same deal, right? And he had a hell of a game. He's
a good player.
But the problem is, I don't know what reported was. They did nasty to Pat Queens because then in the presser they're like, "What do you thought about Trent Simpson?" Like come on, man. And Pat Queens said like, "Oh man, he battled. He played great. That's my guy." I'm like, but you know what that's significant? If that was kind of nasty.
That's what these reporters do, man.
Yeah,
they're nasty.
Javier Clowney, he played until he got his sack. He had his bonus, so he did his thing, but knowing to. So we have, I would say on the defensive side, like the D-line have half of the starters. The D-line had actually most of the starters for the first half. After that, essentially, they put dudes that I couldn't even remember they were playing for this team. I was like, who's this guy? The Steelers did their thing, right? They won. They came in. It was also a condition-wise that you didn't want to have too many starters for too long. Because conditions weren't good. It was raining hard in Baltimore.
The conditions were trash.
It wasn't great. Actually, TJ Watt, although it wasn't because he slipped or anything, his teammate ran into him. And I heard he's already out for the Buffalo game.
They're lucky it's just that.
Yeah, they're lucky. Yeah, I agree. Because it looked nasty. I was like, ew. Right, like we're talking about Bradley Chubb here that he probably won't be starting next year, on the start of next year, and I was like, oh man, is TJ gonna have him the sting? But no, he did his thing. I'm sorry, he was having a decent game all the way to that moment. Anyway, not to take too much. Steelers did their thing. Najee has been playing great the past couple of weeks. Me as a Najee hater since they drafted him, I had to recognize that he has been playing better in the last couple of games. And I wonder if they can carry that into the offseason, or not to the offseason, to the playoffs. Najee being a free agent, I believe, at the end of the season, this bolsters well for him if he can play well against the Buffalo team, against the Bills. Anyway, they won, and then the Jaguars give them the gift, right? Looking back at the Jaguars would have won, they wouldn't be in it. But the Jaguars give them the gift. Trevor Lawrence gave them the gift. Steelers did their thing. They took care of it. They won the game. For the Ravens, like I said, for me, it was nice seeing Simpson because now I know who's going to be there with Rowe, right? Like, I thought that was going to be the case, but after seeing him play, I'm like, he looks like, I don't want to say a better version of PQ in his rookie year, but he definitely looked a little bit more polished. To be fair to PQ was the starter day one. Simpson has whole season to learn from these guys. So
I like Jerome Simpson. I mean,
I think he was good enough to
I-
play. It just you had two good guys there. Like
Yeah.
I thought he was a starter. If he was somewhere else where they didn't have a strong linebacker core, I feel like he's a starter.
I remember watching him play last year in person. He definitely, again, it's another Kyle Hamilton situation where I guess the testing didn't line up with what people expected to, but the burst is there if you've seen him play in person.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what he brings next year. But anyway, other than that, it's not like
He'll be a nice upgrade from Roquan in 4 years.
I see. This is the thing. I was thinking, should I talk about this?
Nah.
Because I knew it was coming. But and I forgot to mention for the Browns, because somebody talked about the Flacco thing. I don't think to be fair, I don't think it's only the good story. I think Flacco fits better. Now, he's not a better quarterback than Watson. Don't get me wrong. Before all Cleveland people get into their feelings, I think he's a better system for Stefanski. So I think Stefanski feels
he's a more natural fit to the offense. I don't think anybody's denying that.
He's better, man. Sonny's trying to say he makes the Browns better. Is that what you're saying, Sonny?
I think at this point, yes. I think Watson needs to understand the system better. Once Watson understands the system better, I think, because Watson's a better talent.
I would say this, though, to that point, because that is a legitimate point where it's like, hey, Flacco does fit the system more naturally. But it's the same thing with Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson. Were there quarterbacks you could have started the year with that fit Todd Monken's system a little bit better than Lamar Jackson? Sure, but it's about Todd Monken taking what he knows and adjusting that to Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson adjusting that to Todd Monken, so that over the course of a season, you get to that point. With Deshaun, it's like, hey, they were trying to get to that point. They had 3 games to start the season. Has the good game against Tennessee. He's hurt. His throwing shoulder's hurt. He can't play for a few weeks. Okay, got to start back at square one when he comes back because he missed 5 weeks of football. Comes back, plays well against Arizona, beats Baltimore. You're starting to think, hey, we can start to put this thing together and figure it out, right? Especially that drive in Baltimore, not the game-winning one, but the drive where
the whole second half was great.
Well, the drive where Baltimore, like, it was obvious the Browns needed to score quickly in order to stay in the game, and that was the drive where I was like, okay, like there's a lot you could do here, but he got hurt for the rest of the year after that. I would wait to make these large-scale judgments about Deshaun Watson until we, one, figure out he just can't stay healthy for a long period of time anymore, like his body's just done and broken down, or 2, we see like 6 games consecutively with him and Kevin Stefanski, like able to build off of each other. Because Joe Flacco knows that system much better than Deshaun Watson. He's been in that system much longer than Deshaun Watson. He's played more games in that system than that. Should make sense. But as far as like the collaboration, those two coming together, they've only played since he came back from the 700-day suspension or whatever it was, they've only played 3 consecutive games together, and then they had to break it up in between starts. So I think they'll figure it out, but that's when I'll start to worry. If we're in week 8 and he's played all 8 of those games and still felt the same, okay, there's a real problem there, because now it's not meshing. Right.
Yeah.
There were times where it felt like it was starting to mesh, but the momentum got knocked off. So you got to figure out if it's going to mesh. You got to give it time, because the same way you were really hesitant to be like, hey, let's call this Monken experiment dead 3 games into the season after you lose to the Colts. It's the same way. It's like, okay, you got to let this shit kind of gel. They got to have games on top of games to understand each other better. And that's what I think they do. Joe Flacco, doesn't take them long to understand each other, because Joe Flacco does exactly what the system's supposed to do by the book. It's not an adjustment for either guy. So I think it's a fair point to bring up, but it's kind of unfair when people just bring it up as if Deshaun Watson is going to be asked to run the same exact version of that offense that they're asking Joe Flacco to do when they're running very different versions of that offense.
I agree. I guess my point here is, I think coming in next year's a big year for Watson, right? We'll see. Well, the hope is we'll see whatever Watson is in this offense, we'll see it next year, right? From week 1 to whatever the progression, like you said, by week 8, we hopefully he's healthy and we can see how he will fit throughout, right? Not he might have a bad week 1. That doesn't mean anything. It will take some time. But if you're the Browns right now, if you're Kevin Stefanski, if Watson somehow miraculously will be healthy tomorrow, you still want to roll with Flacco because for the system that you have in place, because Watson's is not used to that system yet, right?
I don't know about that.
Flacco, I think Flacco will be a better quarterback right now in that
I
system.
think if Watson were healthy, this isn't a Mason Rudolph situation. Like they would go, they beat Baltimore in Baltimore with him, right? Like if you're worried about who you can beat in the playoffs, you literally beat the best team in the NFL with him on the road. So I don't think that's the same situation at all. I don't think you're worried about who you can beat. You've beaten the best teams in the NFL with him. So I think if Watson were healthy, you would go with him. I just think, hey, look, there's a fit thing. It's obviously moving a little bit smoother with Joe because Joe's a natural fit here. But I also think it's overblown if that Watson was like off. Like I think people are overhyping how bad they think Watson was versus how good Joe Flacco has been. And when it's like, hey, the team was still winning games at a more comfortable margin. They were beating really good teams when Deshaun was in there. Joe has done a good job of bringing the Browns back up to where they were when Deshaun was in there, which we thought this was a Super Bowl contender with Deshaun Watson, especially after that Baltimore game. And we're back to thinking that this is a sleeper Super Bowl contender. But if the Browns had Deshaun Watson right now, I think this would go from fun story to like, hey, this is a serious thing that you need to worry about with the Browns actually like having a chance to win the Super Bowl. So I would disagree and push back there a little bit. I know that Joe Flacco has been playing well. He's a good fit, but also let's not act like the Browns did not also look like the most serious threat to Baltimore when Deshaun Watson was out there. And now they still do. Like they're just, that says more about both quarterbacks than one against each other.
Fair enough. Okay, let's go back to the game we were talking about. Do you guys have anything to add? I know it's hard with these last week games when there's not like both teams are not purely starters. But Ace, do you have anything to add to that game?
The Steelers were playing with their food in this game. Like I'm sitting around watching this game. I'm like, this is gonna be a blowout, this and that. I'm like, there were points in this game where I felt like the Ravens were about to win the game. This was not a clear game until the fourth quarter when I think there was that, what was it, Deontay Johnson long touchdown or something like that. Until that happened, I was sitting there like, all right, like, do they want to win this game? And then like they lose TJ Watt, so that sucks for them. But this was a game where I feel like the Steelers were kind of playing with their food and they were able to pull it out. But that's kind of, to me, it would be concerning if a team is not really playing majority of their starters and you're barely pulling that game off in the fourth quarter. I don't know how confident you can be, especially going and playing Buffalo the next week without TJ Watt, how confident you can be. But they took care of business. I just expected them to do it in a fashion where it wouldn't be close. Now you could say, historically Ravens and Steelers games are always close. But those aren't games where, the Ravens and the Steelers don't have starters and stuff in. So that's the only thing that I would be concerned on if I was a Pittsburgh fan is that they didn't seem to have a sense of urgency until the fourth quarter to kind of close this game out. Now, there was things that affected that with like the weather and stuff. So maybe you could say that keeps it a little closer, but I don't. That game was close, dog. Like I was like, they're going to mess around and lose this game up until that play happened.
Q, anything you want to add about this Ravens Steelers stellar performance of a game?
I'm just excited to see what the Steelers do in the offseason at this quarterback position. I am just truly intrigued to figure out what they're going to do.
Who's starting the playoff game? Is it Mason or is it?
No, it's Mason.
Kenny?
It's Mason.
It's not even a question. Yeah. Also, like they came out like, "Hey, Kenny Pickett's still the quarterback of the future." And I was talking to Steelers DB about this. He was like, "How you guys try to tell me that's the quarterback of the future where he's been healthy for multiple must-win games?" And you haven't gone back to him. No, man. Like, if you're riding the hot hand, that tells me everything I need to know about Kenny Pickett, which is, I don't feel, hey, look, if Tyler Huntley was hot and Lamar was ready to come back, hey, Sonny, who you going with?
Lamar.
Hey, in the middle of that Jake Brown and Lynn Sanity run, Ace, if Joe Burrow was ready to come back, go away.
Thank you for your service.
Hey,
thank you.
All right, but
back to the pond.
Give him a pat on the ass and a seat on the bench.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's a big rumor out there that the Steelers won. Russell. They won Russell.
Russell Wilson.
Yes.
Russell
Man.
Wilson.
I'm like, really?
We want Russell Wilson. The AFC North wants Russell Wilson.
He won't last in this division.
Let Russ cook, man. Let Russ do his thing.
Seeing Sierra with the terrible towel is I gotta say.
Have you seen like the Sierra go to the games?
I don't know.
She's usually in like the box. She's usually in like a press box.
Yeah, she's not in like team colors. It's all right. Like I don't have to have Sierra ruled for me, right?
Dude. Yeah. Anyway, I like you.
Terrible tile. I'm gonna become a Future. You need to take Future back.
And all the AFC North teams gonna be playing Future because we're gonna be petty. Like, go ahead and bring Russell here.
Yes, sir. I'm like you, Q. I can't wait to see what they do in the QB position. It will be interesting. Anyway, Alpha God here says Bills 35-7 Steelers BBB.
Is this an Wait,
he looks like
I've never seen him. What fan is he a fan of?
That's a blue shirt.
He is a fan of AFC North talk clearly because he knows what the triple B means.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Is this a psyop? Is this a Pittsburgh Steelers fan trying to get the reverse jinx?
That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
It never works. So if that's what you're trying to do, it always hurts. It always hurts.
Triple B in the playoffs is crazy.
Play with that. Okay.
Is that the first ever triple B for AFC North talk in the playoffs?
Prediction or game? Because
there's been a game. There's been a game. There's definitely been a game.
Yeah, there's been a game. Prediction? Don't think so.
Dude, you know what the line is for that game? What do you think the line is for that
Buffalo,
game?
Pittsburgh?
Buffalo, Pittsburgh?
Probably what, 7?
-10.
That's nuts. That's nuts. Probably gonna keep that thing with the 6, dog. I was thinking like Josh Allen.
Man,
hey, I will say this. Like, I know we're not previewing the playoff games. Josh Allen versus Mike Tomlin is a very interesting combination.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I can see a tutty, but 10?
10 is crazy.
The other big one is the Cowboys are -7.5.
This is looking like the Andy Dalton situation to me, man. I don't know.
What's the line on that Eagles?
Playing in the wild card. It's very familiar.
Eagles, Buccaneers +3.
Who they got? Eagles +3?
No, Buccaneers +3.
They got the Bucks +3?
Oh, yeah, so saying the Eagles are the favorite team.
Oh, okay.
I don't trust the Eagles. I'm gonna tell you
that. But only 3.
I don't know, dog. Did you see them against the Cardinals? Because I lost money on that. I was in Vegas.
That game is a bad beat waiting to happen because look,
bro,
hey, the same way the Eagles can pull it out.
I had a 16 parlay, dog. I don't even watch college football, and I bet Alabama, like literally everything. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, all I need is for the Eagles to beat the Cardinals. This is easy, right? Nope. They let the Cardinals come back. Like, not only did the Cardinals beat them, they were winning the game, majority of the game, and they let them come back and beat them, dog.
Do you guys knew there was a Monday night game? I thought there was
a
Monday night
Eagles,
game.
Eagles.
Is that new this season?
I never remember having a Monday night.
I think they had it last year.
I think
they've had it since 2020. I think since they added the extra game.
Peacock exclusive now.
Oh yeah, the Peacock exclusive is Dolphins.
That's crazy, dog.
They Peacock the Swifties.
That ain't gonna be the first one either. That's gonna continue, guys. So welcome to exclusive ownership of playoff games now. That's going to be a thing.
The good thing is if it is your team,
Peacock ain't going to be around that much longer.
Isn't Peacock really NBC? Isn't it just NBC?
Yeah, it's NBC streaming, but like they're all kind of realizing it's just better to be on Netflix.
Yeah.
So this will turn into the Netflix exclusive, but hey man, we already got that shit.
What do you think is your line right now? Browns Texans.
I think the Browns are favored by like 3.
Yeah, 2.5. But yeah.
Yeah.
Their favorite. Yeah. Anyway, but hey. Oh wait, we have super
Which,
chat
by the
here.
way, ESPN, stop making the block hot. Y'all don't got to bring CJ Stroud on the fucking show and be like, "Hey, CJ, everybody's doubting you. Stephen A. said you ass." Like, hey, bro, why are y'all doing this? Yeah, stop making the block hot, man. Like, let that man play that game regular.
I said after the game, after the Jaguars lost, that this is the worst outcome for the Browns, right? And people thought it was because y'all lost against the Bengals, and that wasn't the case. I mean, that game mattered nothing. It was because the Jaguars lost, and now you have to face the Texans. Not because you cannot beat the Texans, but y'all know Browns fans. You want to.
I didn't even know it was the Browns playing them, but I was like, if I'm any team, I do not want to play CJ Stroud. I seen Jacksonville.
You know what it is? Is because like the Texans, I think the Browns can beat the Texans. Yeah. They played that defense well when they played against them, everything else, but it's going from thinking you're gonna play the Jaguars,
exactly,
who look like food. They look like condensed meat. Like they are just ready to blow this, dog. Like you watch the Jaguars, and it's like watching your friends stumble home drunk. Like, dog, the bed about to whip their ass once they get in it, dog. It's about to be a quick victory. Mm-hmm. It is going from getting that to play CJ Stroud and the Texans. Who, look, they don't look like a quick victory to me. Like, now that looks like a very tough team to play. And then you go from playing in Jacksonville, which is just, hey, it's easy.
It's been a home field.
Don't nobody care. They don't believe. Like, we gonna be in that pool, repping Cleveland, chilling. Now we gotta go into that loud ass dome. They got a franchise quarterback, so they believe in shit. They gonna be loud on third down. It's like, bro, we could have had a bye week, okay? And now we playing the Texans. Yeah. Like, this is how I imagine the Miami Dolphins feel. By the way, like, hey, dog, we about to get the 2 seed. We about to get the bye week. If we could just beat Baltimore, we about to do this, man. What you mean we playing an Arrowhead?
Yeah, I agree. But that's what I meant with that tweet, because I know I got a couple of Browns fans quickly saying like, "Oh, but that game didn't mean anything." I'm like, no, I'm not talking about y'all game. I'm talking about the outcome of the Jaguars. Anyway, Steel Baller here says AFC North dominance will continue in the playoffs. I predict 5, 6, and 7 seed will all advance. Damn. In the AFC, when this happens, Q, who are you rooting for in the divisional round matchup? Here we go. I mean, he'll be rooting for because the Steelers and Ravens will go again. I see.
So if I had to pick, I was thinking about this, right? What if we get into a scenario where the Browns win at 4:30 and then the Dolphins win? And now I'm like, do I root on Pittsburgh so the Browns effectively have the 2 seed for the rest of the playoffs? Or do I be petty and root for these Buffalo Bills because I ain't trying to hear about the Steelers for an extra week? Right? What do I do?
You get a home field. You get a home game.
Mm-hmm.
If the Steelers will
win. Y'all know what their record is without TJ Watt? Does anybody know?
I don't know. Do you know it?
Does anybody know?
I don't know it.
Was it like they got to be like 1-6 or something like that?
1-10, dog. It's like
they played 11 games without TJ Watt.
I mean, he's been there for a while.
Wow.
Yeah. Nice little 1-10.
He had that tore pec. Wasn't he had a tore pec one year?
Oh yeah, when he was being soft. Yeah. I'm just joking for those of you who are new. That is a running joke from last year.
Steel Baller here says, I don't care why you look for that ace. I don't care that it's Buffalo -10. If Tony were here, he'd point out that Tomlin has an elite record as a double-digit underdog. Yeah, you know, -10.
That elite record is a double-digit
underdog. 1-10 without DJ Watt.
I can see the Steelers losing by 7, still covering.
I'm just going to say this. Tyler had an elite record as a double-digit underdog with whom at quarterback?
Big Ben, number
He's
7.
not walking through that door, but we'll see. We'll see if Mason Rudolph can put on his best impression. And again, the Buffalo Bills are not beyond blowing this. They are the 76ers of the NFL. Like, I don't know why everybody does this bullshit with the Buffalo Bills every year where they're like, oh man, the Bills look terrifying. The Bills are so unstoppable. I'm like, I've seen the Cincinnati Bengals walk into their crib in a snow game and have Buffalo crying about the snow. All right. Like,
Yeah.
we've seen Buffalo blew a game in which was so bad in the last minutes of it that the NFL changed the rules so it wouldn't happen again, just for them to get back to the divisional round and get dismantled by Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, who, by the way, at that point, nobody was actually believing they were going to get back to the conference championship that year outside of Cincinnati. Like, when are we going to learn that Buffalo is not to be trusted in these situations, man? Like,
after week 18,
all I'm gonna say is if the Bills win, it'll be because of Josh Allen. If the Steelers win,
it'll be
because of Josh Allen.
all I heard after week 18, right? Because Lamar didn't play. Like,
it didn't seem like chaotic.
most...
Josh Allen was out there stretching during that Miami game. He was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm ready to get back for the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, let me go ahead and throw this thing across the field real quick, see if I still got it."
Look, all I heard was, "Oh, but the Buffalo team is the most dangerous team in the AFC." I'm like,
that's nuts.
We didn't just beat a bunch of like top tier team. What are you talking about? The Buffalo
like Baltimore has beaten 2 back-to-back like top tier teams in a row.
Is a top team right now, man.
Buffalo gets the hype really quick.
Baltimore and
I get what they would say some of that about Buffalo, because since a lot of people didn't expect Buffalo to make the playoffs after they dropped that game. I think it was to the Eagles or whatever. And they went on a streak where they beat some good teams, but I still don't feel like they were as good as the teams that the Ravens beat during that same time.
I got to give credit to Akalon, who super chatted this on a show earlier today. He said Buffalo has a chance to win if Buffalo wins the Super Bowl this year, that means they would have won the last 9 of their 11 games.
It's a big streak.
Well, think about that.
No. I see. Okay, this is just so we can close. You said after the Eagles game, they beat the Chiefs by 3. Yeah. They spanked the Cowboys. Cowboys can play on the road, but they spanked the Cowboys.
Got them a lot of points there.
Yeah, they beat the Chargers by 2.
And I don't know if that was with Justin Herbert or without.
That was no Herbert. That was Easton Stick.
That's kind of nasty. Only 2 points
by Easton Stick. And then they beat the Patriots by 6, and then the Dolphins by 7.
They're not. No, the Ravens have been dominating teams by double-digit points. It's definitely the Ravens. So even as a Bengals fan, I can sit here and say it's the Ravens.
Jamir Sanders here says Bills are the Ravens. Literally gonna be honest. I don't know about that, but hey, we're gonna be playing in the playoffs. All these teams, we'll see.
When's the last time Lamar's been in the playoffs? It's been since 2020, right?
Yeah, it's been 2 years.
Why are we acting like the last time he didn't play in the playoffs? We were like, oh wow, he really started to change the narrative.
But to be fair, in that game, we were driving. He throws the pick against Buffalo in the red zone. There was 99 yards or 100 yards, whatever it was, touchdown, and that was game.
Y'all got a problem with that, Sonny.
Yeah, don't mention that. I just brought it out, and after I was bringing it up, I mean, like, I'm setting myself up here.
This game started off with a 99-yard pick 6 going the other way. I'm like, damn, they might have a point, dog.
Yeah, I set up myself for that one. I did. Anyway, we'll be back this week previewing the 2 games we have in the AFC North, Steelers and Browns game. So up to them, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified. And
let us know if you think the Baltimore Ravens are going to beat Rusty and fumble their playoff game again. Let's get all of that annoying discourse that Sonny does not want on the show.
I will start ignoring
Let's
this.
see if Ace does his best guru impersonation on the next episode of AFC.
There you go.
Yeah, see, look, hey, Ace, just know just know the penalty for predicting what it carries. It always carries.
Oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm not channeling that guru.
Anyway, guys, take it easy. Have a good one. Peace out.